Coming up, we're going to be talking a little more in depth about our experience at the D23 Expo, as well as some news that came out of San Diego Comic-Con this last weekend, and maybe just a little bit more in this episode of Diz Pop. Diz Pop is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect vacation. Be sure to visit them on the web at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Hello, everybody. I am your host, Ryan O'Clavin, and joined by my fellow line sleeper over here, Craig Williams.
No, hoy hoy.
Yes, and we are here to talk to you a little bit more in depth about our experience at the D23 Expo, specifically the animation and the live-action panel that we were able to attend.
Yeah, I feel like we've been talking about parks and resorts over and over and over again now for the past 2 weeks. So while we did a very brief recap of the animation panel after that, and we had a bad connection feed then for the live action, we haven't really had the chance to like fully get this stuff off our chests.
Talk about like the things we're excited for and what excited us while we were there, and you know.
And
cool,
you know what,
cool
my excitement has grown for some of the things since the event, and other things. It's like I was excited right when we heard about them, and now my anticipation has kind of died down. So it's been a lot to process. It's been a long 2 weeks, but
well, let's talk. Well, overall, like, did you enjoy the convention? Will you go again?
You know what, I unless it's for work, I'd probably never go. I'm joking.
I was like, are you serious? Because I'm pretty sure I'm going to go.
Yeah, no. If I was fired tomorrow, I would still go to the D23 Expo every 2 years. It's one of those things, just because Disney has made all those acquisitions now, it truly is. It's more than just a convention for straight Disney. It's
Disney, too. Sorry.
Oh, my God. I walked right into that one.
Just stared at me too for a second. Like, what have I said? No, but yeah, no, I know what you're saying. Like, because now with the addition of Star Wars and Marvel, there's that excitement in the air, and you know, I think they're really what Disney does best is steals things from other people and makes it better sometimes. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean like sometimes they see a good idea and they'll be like, ours now, and then they take it and they roll with it, and I think they're trying to do that with Comic-Con a little bit, you know.
Well, I'll actually go off on that too. I've always wanted to go to Comic-Con.
Yeah, me too.
And every year I'm like, should I apply for a press pass? Just because, you know,
you should do it for the next
not
year.
Guaranteed seating or anything, but it's still one of those things. Like, overall reach of the Disney company between the films and the parks and everything else versus what was offered at Comic-Con, I mean, D23 did step in front of Comic-Con this year, and I think
the stuff that you as a Disney fan probably wouldn't have been given as much attention at something like that, because it does cater to, like what you said, that comic crowd. And I mean, it is called San Diego Comic-Con. I know that they've evolved past just being comic conventions, but yeah, so I especially this year compared to years last, there was a lot more, people were a lot more excited. There was a lot more involved in a lot of cosplay stuff. You know, mistakes were made with the convention at points as well. Not perfectly run, like any of them can be, really, you know, when you get that amount of people on a spot. I will say though, but it is an alarming amount of people in a room, but you know, you've got to go in. We always say manage your expectations, because that's a thing you have to do. This year we had to sleep in line over. Do you think they'll roll this into a one-year event? Once every year?
I'm not quite sure. Off years they do Destination D here in Walt Disney World, where they away. And I can understand why. I mean, it did sell out last year. Yeah. But I know the first time I went to it, it didn't sell out at all. But It's All Spo is very, it's a lot more broad. But I do prefer the Destination D because you get guaranteed seating for everything.
See that in your experience. However, they did do a nice recovery for people. Yeah. Where they got automatic guaranteed seating into a panel that a lot of people were waiting out for after that.
And the whole reason why a lot of people didn't get into that panel that should have, because of the mad rush, is that people wanted to go see Legends first thing in the morning and then thought that they were going to go straight from Legends, get in animation, fine. That's not possible. You have to choose the one thing you want to do.
Yes,
and
exactly.
It didn't happen to this extent first, and then animation. If you care more about Legends and animation, don't try to get in animation after. If you care about animation more, get in the expo early and be ready to wait for animation and skip Legends. You have to make a choice.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, so we got in, we got seated, we got pretty decent seats. You actually got looking up into several portions. So there's Disney Animation, there's the Toon Studios, right? Disney Toon Studios?
Yes, and Walt Disney Animation, Disney Toon Studios, and then Pixar.
So 3 sections, yeah. And it started with the Disney Toon Studios, which had John Lasseter come out, because John Lasseter is currently the
John
Chief Operating Officer.
He's the Chief Creative Officer. He speaks on behalf. Horn kind of spearheads that.
Oh, Alan.
Yeah, Alan.
Someone's grandpa.
And then he'll call out like Kevin Feige and other studio heads. And he's so fun to watch.
Well, John Lasseter can get you psyched about anything. Yeah. It could be something you could care about.
Went over your head, I think.
I know. Yeah. Honestly, if I had been more like quick,
it was behind you.
Yeah,
and it landed like right. The section over for me, right?
The guy in front of me to my left got a shirt.
Yeah.
And I was but he like grabbed it out of somebody's hand, and I was like, it's gonna be a fight. That's cool. But so he came out to talk about Toon Studios and Disney Toon Studios, and the thing they're working on. They did this whole presentation about how the animators really research stuff, and they showed us some clips of how they've been going around to like research this new Untitled movie, and it has to do with jet planes and like space somehow. Maybe not space, but it was like planes that can fly like up into the stratosphere,
breaking barriers in a way.
And then so they show the clip, and you're like, oh, this looks good. Like airplane shooting through a desert. The sound is really what got you, because it was like rumbling, and every time it broke that sound barrier, you heard that bang, and
and it legitimately looked like just a jet fighter. Yeah. And then, what happened was what we all expected from the start.
The eyes. The eyes came out of it. And I feel like there was people who like had a collective groan in the audience. It was like, oh, like it made it so much less exciting, because we were like, oh God.
Well, we all expected it to be announced that Planes 3 was coming out, because, we really needed more planes after Planes and Planes Fire and Rescue. But then they, when they said space, it's clear that while it may be in the same universe as Planes, it's not a next sequel to Planes. So maybe there's a little bit promise still left in it, but I don't know.
It did not get me excited. I was just like, I don't care. I don't like Cars that much. Like I did the review of Cars 3. I enjoyed Cars 3. But shoot. But I just don't. It doesn't. I don't know why. There's too many questions in that universe about how it all works, and it's not consistent enough like the other universes. It's the only one that exists in its own universe, actually.
It's just merchandise. It's a way to sell merchandise, and I get that. That's what some franchises need to be. Let's all thank George Lucas for setting that precedence in terms of making money
Disney
through merchandise. That's all the reason why we have it. But luckily, we didn't stay too long on.
No, they moved on from pretty quickly, and we got Kristen Bell came out and to talk about the new Frozen short that's going to be 21 minutes long and includes 4 new songs, not written by anybody who wrote the originals, I don't believe. No. It was like 2 other... It
wasn't the Lopez's.
Yeah. So...
Olaf's Frozen Adventure, by the way, is the name of the short. It will be playing in front of Coco.
Oh, okay. All right, good, because I didn't remember. Because essentially, like, Frozen starts and I tune out a little bit. I will say, though, the short, what they showed us in the song, like, okay, so anyway, so they start playing us a clip, and there's a sound error, and then, of course... Who comes out but Olaf himself? Because essentially Josh Gad will do anything that Disney asks at this point, which is fine because we all love Josh Gad.
Yeah, no, I have no problems with it. You hate Frozen. You don't hate it. You just dislike it. I love Frozen. I still think it's a fantastic movie. And it really is. And this short, they played us the song from it. Josh Gad sang it live there, The Happiest Time of Year.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun.
It was so funny. And of course, the short as a whole is about the sisters, Anna and Elsa. You know, it's about to be Christmas time, and because their parents have been gone, they've been separated. They've never been able to celebrate Christmas together. And so Olaf is going to help save Christmas essentially by going around to the people all throughout the village and try to steal their holiday traditions to then like try out on the sisters to see what sticks. And so basically the song was a sequence of Olaf going around house to house stealing traditions, and
in that funny Olaf manner where he's like, oh, so you hang cotton socks above the fireplace. That seems safe. Like, and just his his funny
oh yeah, it's like it was okay, so breaking and entering on Christmas. Okay.
Yeah. And, so it was a lot of I can see that song being a very popular song holidays in the future.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was like, okay. It was fun. It was unoffensive. So that was cute though to have them come out, and then John Lasseter rejoined them, and they talked about Frozen 2 was going to have all the original cast, but they're not calling it Frozen 2. They're not calling it Thawed. They're not calling it Frozen 2 in Norwegian, I guess, because it means toe. So they made a bunch of like really funny like jokes. So essentially they just don't have the title finished yet. But now you're telling me today that the speculation is it's going to be like 4 years from now.
Yeah, they briefly flashed up the timeline of when everything will be happening, live action and animation, and I'm pretty sure I didn't see Frozen being released until 2021. And from everything that I've kind of heard after D23, the movie Gigantic, which was supposed to be take place in Spain and be based off of the Beanstalk, Jack and the Beanstalk. From what I've read, it seems that movie may be off the shelf now entirely.
That's unfortunate because they promoted it at the last D23, and then they had that Easter egg inside of Zootopia.
Well, and the Lopez's were supposed to be writing the music for it. I think they even played a song from it, if I can remember. I'd have to go back and check my notes, but I'm pretty sure they played us one of the original songs they already wrote for it.
Well, sometimes it just doesn't come together very well, you know? It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been like a Good Dinosaur situation where things weren't really working out, and instead of trying to save it, they're just going to axe it. But again, they didn't announce it, so it seems like it's not going to be coming out at least within the next couple of years.
Yeah. So we went from there, and then we went into the next, the big thing, which is Wreck-It Ralph 2. And the highlight, surprisingly. Fairness here, I haven't seen Wreck-It Ralph 1 yet. I went to Fort Wilderness to watch it, but it was so popular when I went there that it was so loud I couldn't hear the screen. So I was like, well, I don't want to sit here and just half watch it. So I kind of left after about like 30 or 40 minutes, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. And Sarah Silverman came out though, and I will tell you what we saw for this has completely changed my I want to see this movie.
Let's see that Wreck-It Ralph is actually, I think it's one of the best things that Disney has done in this since they've had their resurgence of animation.
I love Zootopia, and I don't like Zootopia though.
I know you like Zootopia, but oh my gosh, Wreck-It Ralph is so underappreciated. I think it kind of hurt that it was like Zootopia. It didn't have that big hit song in it. It wasn't a musical, but the animation is fantastic in it. The worlds are wonderful, and if you're a fan of video games, it's like it's just that you have to. Oh my god, it's such a great movie. It makes me cry every single time. There was just one part that makes me weep emotionally.
Well, so if you haven't heard, the sequel for the second one's called Ralph Breaks the Internet, Wreck-It Ralph 2. And so Miss Vanellope von Schweetz, Sarah Silverman herself, who kept it pretty clean for her Disney audience here, because I expected bad words to come out of her mouth, because she is just, I'm surprised she's in a Disney movie. You know what I mean? I knew it was her, but
listen, she's all raunch, but at the same time, she had to play it classy, or when she used to appear on Jimmy Kimmel and stuff back when they were still together.
Well, I didn't realize the directors of Zootopia were the same people who had directed Wreck-It Ralph too. So that made me more interested to see that again, because they came out too, right, with her? No, did they just?
No,
mention?
they
were
came
there.
out. Byron,
okay, because I was going to say
Byron Howard and Rich Moore, I believe.
Yeah, they were doing the autographs too.
Yeah.
So, so anyway, the whole premise of this movie is that Penelope's game, Sugar Rush, is kind of Vanellope, excuse me. Her game breaks down, but it's also connected to Wi-Fi now somehow. Wi-Fi.
Yeah, the only way to fix the game is to go through the internet.
Yeah, it looks like, I don't know the premise of the first movie, so I don't know, but it looked like the game was in a place where this arcade man was connecting the machines to Wi-Fi too, so that's how they get connected to the internet. I don't know.
Well, in the first movie, they're all connected via the power.
Okay.
The power, and so all the video games, they're all in this arcade, and the characters they can go back and forth through the power in Grand Central Station, and that's so Ralph wants to be a hero, leaves his video game,
right? Okay,
and
I remember
starts moving on to other games.
Well, so this one, in order to fix Vanellope's game, they have to go to the internet, and they show us a little clip here, and it was really cool because it's like Ralph's walking down, essentially like in a plaza, and it's all these people that are just harassing him, where they're like, click now, marry my wife, something like. It was a lot of like internet ads that you pop up and like that you would click on, but embodied in human form, which is cool. We learned about a new character named Yes, we did. Yes,
she's a editor for Buzzaholic,
3 S's specifically, voiced by Taraji B. Henson, and what was really interesting is here in the scene where they told us all about this character. And then this character, they're like, we're going to show you this scene with this one character. Yeah. And she's talking about these sectors, about people who like sci-fi, but they also like animation, but then they like excitement and like comic book characters. And I was like, this sounds like Disney. And as she's doing this, she drew 3 circles and it made the mouse. And so the internet where she takes them, the site where she's got to take them is Oh My Disney. ohmydisney.com, and that is I mean, you could take it from here, but
yeah, that is Disney's kind of it's not fan run. Disney runs it, but it's essentially like BuzzFeed, specifically only for Disney. A lot of top lists, a lot of quizzes. If you haven't ever been on the site, it's fantastic. You can lose yourself in a wormhole of going through everything that's on there. But when they get to Oh My Disney on this like subway train, you see Dumbo flying around, you see Cinderella's castle, the princesses are all out and about meeting with people. They even have Tsum Tsums.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the Tsum Tsums.
They had them around, but while Ralph and Vanellope stop off here with Yes, and Ralph kind of just like pushes all of this off to the side in the middle of their quest, where Vanellope, as she is the princess of her game, she's the queen of her game, she wants to investigate more into the whole princess situation that's happening, and basically the princesses all are just hanging out in
they're
this
like going
room
into
together.
the castle or something, and so she breaks into girls' night, and it is just leads to what is probably the funniest scene I've ever seen of Disney like being metaphysically self-referential that I've ever witnessed in my life. So it's all the princesses accurately being portrayed by, or for the most part, by their voices. I'm sure the original Snow White,
not like Cinderella and Snow White
are modern day princesses from like Mulan forward, essentially.
Little Mermaid, please.
Oh, Little Mermaid. I'm sorry, I completely forgot. I'm sorry. Yeah, Little Mermaid forward, and so they're all in this room just having like a girls' night, and
and Vanellope kind of busts in, and she wants to be a part of their group because she's a princess in her game, and before she's allowed in, she has to prove that she's a princess, and so
all the questions they ask, like, "Do you have daddy issues?"
And they just they grill her with all these on the nose spot like jokes about Disney princesses with the daddy issues. Do men sometimes hold you back? Just all little funny things. along those lines. Just really
she's like, oh, can I pet your raccoon? And she goes, better, and the thing's just like.
Yeah,
and he's got rabies.
Well, and that's the thing. So Vanellope is not your typical princess because she's got, they make a joke at the end of the first movie. You wouldn't know, but she's for a second she's all up in this royal garb, and then she trades that finest, and they're all confused on why she is wearing the clothes like that. Clothes now. Like,
oh my God, the Jodie Benson, where Ariel's got the sweatshirt on. She's like, look at this shirt. D2, could you grab that door for us? And they're like, don't do that. He hates that. BB-8.
I'm glad. I get that people are upset, and they were hoping it was a joke. I think a lot of people saying like, no, this actually can't be in the movie. This was just something.
Parts of the scenes went into the fully formed animation too.
So I do understand why people can be upset by it because a lot of people like hold everything turning around and making fun of them. I understand why they're upset. I don't think it should be.
Right. The things that are drastically different from each other, and that's where like the levity comes from,
They understand their tropes.
Right. And so what was really cool is after this clip that played for like 7 or 8 minutes.
Yeah, it was long.
Jodie Benson comes out, and we're like, hey, we just saw you. Hey, we're like friends. And the voice of Belle, and then Belle comes out and would be like, it would be my pleasure to introduce Linda Larkin, the voice of what's going on in that casting room. So regardless, I love Aladdin. But anyway, so then it just, Irene Bedard, Pocahontas, Anika Noni Rose came out, Mandy Moore came out, Kelly MacDonald, Kristen Bell was there, obviously, Oluli Caravallo.
Alili
Cravalho, and who's a Moana and Sarah Silverman. So it was just kind of like all these princesses were here. The only one which I was super disappointed about that wasn't there was Ming-Na Wen, but I'm assuming she's filming Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, but I thought it was really cool to see all the princesses together, and of course they have to tease us and be like the picture moment, and you're like, my phone is in a bag right now, sealed because you won't let us have it out. But that was cool. And then that went into another film that I'm now pretty excited about because we're jumping over from there to Pixar.
Yes.
And we got to see our first taste of The Incredibles 2.
Yes.
Yes, and I know you were very excited because from your favorite TV show, Coach, Craig T. Nelson came out.
Yeah, Craig T. Nelson came out. Holly Hunter came out.
I love Holly Hunter.
Samuel L. Jackson came out.
Brad Bird was there.
Brad Bird was there, who...
Sam Jackson was out for this, but he didn't come out for the Marvel panel,
which was like really bizarre. But that is what it is. The new voice of Dash came out as well, and then the girl who does the voice for Violet, I can't remember the name off the top of my head. She was there as well too. Wasn't a lot of details on this, except we now know that it's going to take place immediately after the events of the first movie. It's going to continue that mid-century contemporary vibe, but in this like kind of in a futuristic day and age, which I love that. I love that clash of 50s retro houses and furniture, but it's obviously the future in a way. And then we got to see a teaser clip of this, which was rough in some areas, good, but essentially the clip was all based around Jack, and Bob was discovering for the first time that Jack had powers. Yeah. And the way this was coming out is that Jack gets in a fight with a raccoon.
He thinks it's a bandit because he's watching the TV program, so he thinks the thing. So it's a really, really funny scene, and it makes me very excited.
It makes. I will be honest. I think The Incredibles is a good movie. It's not. It doesn't even break my top 5 in Pixar.
Yeah. It's not my favorite. My thing with The Incredibles was when it first came out that I saw it and I was like, okay, it's good, it's fine. But I was like, why was this an animated movie? Because that movie came out during the hype of like, Spider-Man had come out and, they were doing all these kind of like amazing, that was the beginning of the superhero genre as we know it today was starting then, in film at least, like this new age of heroes, I would say. And so for me, I was kind of disappointed because I thought like, they should have filmed this as a live action movie, and I thought this would have been brilliant. And then Brad Bird goes and makes one of the best, if not the best, Mission Impossible movie, Ghost Protocol. And, and then I'm like, oh man, this guy's got skill in animation. This guy's got skill in live action. So I need to go back and rewatch The Incredibles now and absorb it better.
It's still really good. It's a good movie. It's a really good movie.
It's a good family movie.
To me, it hasn't aged well. I think it was great at the time it came out. It just hasn't aged like other Pixar movies have. Another Brad Bird one, Ratatouille. I feel like that hasn't aged as well too. But at the same time, the movie he made before he came over to Pixar, Iron Giant, which I think that is like his defining movie.
Okay, we're going to take a side bump here because we are going to talk about San Diego Comic-Con, but I would have forgot to talk about this until you just said that. So, Steven Spielberg's movie that he's directing, the Ready Player One, did you watch the trailer for that? Because
I did.
I'm reading that book right now, and I haven't gotten that far into it because everything came up, but, I'm hoping to finish it soon. But the trailer has and I read, apparently the Iron Giant is a big part of the movie. And so it's like the Iron Giant's in it. There's a freaking chase scene with the DeLorean from Back to the Future 2, and there's like a Freddy Krueger that's later off. So if you haven't watched the trailer for Ready Player One, this was one of the things I knew it was being made, and that's why I went to go read this book. But the visual here, if this can be a decent movie, I am super excited for this movie. But sorry, I didn't want to not acknowledge that the Iron Giant we'll be seeing him soon.
Exactly. But long story short, I think the scene they showed for Incredibles 2 is better than anything in the first Incredibles movie. Okay. That's how I feel about it.
I thought it was a great scene. Yeah,
I agree. So, what else did we learn about Pixar?
That John Lasseter will no longer be co-director of Toy Story 4. That it will be Josh Cooley solely. But not really, no real new information on that. Otherwise,
there wasn't any. What's her name coming out this time around for it?
Bo Peep.
No, it was last expo they brought out Ann Perkins.
Oh, because she wrote the movie, right?
Yeah, she's co-writing it.
Oh my gosh, why can I not remember her name? She's Quincy Jones's daughter, Rashida Jones.
Rashida. Thank you. Yes, but yeah, they mentioned that John Lasseter was going to be stepping aside as co-director for that. Josh Cooley was going to do it. Then they also discussed a brand new original
very excited for
story that's going to be directed by Dan Scanlon, who did Monsters University, which when you hear that, it's like, oh. But then again, he had to work with a sequel. This time, this is his own original story that is loosely connected to his upbringing, which that changes
when he told the story. It was so when Dan and his brother were younger, their father passed away when he was like 1 year old or something like that. And so they used to have home videos of the father, but it was when the film and the audio were separate. So it's like on a Super 8 or something. Well, not Super 8 because that had audio on it, but something like that. And so he never heard his father until years later. Like the aunt, I believe, gave him a tape, and they were like, "Listen to the tape to the very end." And at the very end, there was the dad says hi, and the dad says bye, and they're like, "That's all we have." So this whole story is inspired by like a brother. Well, you can tell.
It's right now it's being titled as Suburban Fantasy Adventure. That's kind of a joke because it doesn't have a real name yet.
Yeah,
but
it was
that's
funny
what
they
even
played
on the screen.
The title.
Yeah. Exactly. And so basically it takes place in a world of real magic, but the magic has been replaced over the years with appliances, cars,
like magic
food.
Is difficult, so they don't do it anymore.
And there was like a lot of the audience kind of giggled at one point in time because they showed the fast food in this magic world, and instead of In-N-Out Burger, it was To and Fro Burger, little things like that. And it's just a bizarre world. Like in this world, the unicorns are possums digging through trash and stuff.
Oh my gosh, I can't
wait.
They
showed
for that.
artwork of that, and it was, oh God, it was so funny. But yeah, basically the story is two teenage brothers whose fathers died when they were too young to remember him. They go to this fantasy world to try to relive a day with their father, but I mean it's going to be extremely magical. Like the poster they showed, it showed kind of like the suburbs with the city in the background, and there's a dragon flying over top of it. So for me, the excitement is real with this because Pixar is doing another original story, and that's what they need to do.
And
less
it sounds
sequels,
very
more original.
very touching, very. It just looks like something that I'm like, oh, this is gonna be I'm gonna cry in this one. Yeah, I mean, you want to cry listening to the pitch for the story. So if it comes together even remotely close to that, it's gonna be great. So then this kind of all ended off with their current movie that's about to come out in just a few months.
Coco.
The story of Chanel.
No, Conan's actually pissed off about this.
Why?
Because after everything happened with
Team
NBC,
Coco?
he became Team Coco and all that, and Disney stealing Coco from him.
He spells it differently though, doesn't he?
No, it's C-O-C-O. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So he had a little bit on his show when they announced like Coco and all that, and he's like, "I'm Coco," because Tom Hanks called him Coco for the very first time on
is that where he got the name from? Oh,
yeah, he started calling him Coco. Tom Hanks started it all.
It's funny too because the bridge to get to the underworld is this bright red hair, almost like so. It's almost like, are they nodding to him? But so they showed us some scenes from Coco. I mean, it was kind of stuff we already knew.
But no. I disagree with that. I think Coco has been completely undersold. This movie where this boy think that it's his he doesn't know his father. His father's out of the picture, and there's this Spanish guitarist, or the Mexican guitarist that's well, in the movie the name's Ernesto. He's this famous guitarist, and they set up the previews making you think that could be his dad, but he has to go to the land of the dead to truly find out. And that's how all the previews have kind of set it up to be. But then you actually find out through the clips that we saw that really it has nothing to do with that. Ernesto is either his grandfather or great-grandfather.
I think it was grandfather, yeah.
Yeah, and basically Ernesto and his music caused some sort of family issues that essentially they blocked him out of the family, and continued going on his own, on their own way, with leaving him out of it.
So no music in this family. They're like, none of that.
And all the boy wants to do is be a guitarist and play for people. And, so he wants to connect with his grandfather. He gets transported to the land of the dead, essentially, when he takes his great-grandfather's or grandfather's guitar and strums it. But then it turns into this plot that to leave the world of the dead, he must get like his family's blessing in order to leave every night by sundown, or he won't be able to leave at all. But he's still determined. So his grandmother tries to send him back immediately,
and she's like, "You can have my blessing if you promise never to do anything to do with music." And so he sends him back into the real world, and he sees the guitar, strums the guitar right away, and he pops right back into the other world, and they're like, that was literally like 10 seconds.
So that kind of furthered the plot for sure now. So now we know he's trying to work things out with his family, restore it all as a whole. But there's still a lot of the plot left unknown. The problem so far, the marketing hasn't been good. It hasn't explained what the story is. We still don't know the full guts of it. But the movie does look beautiful. I just think people need to understand.
Is it a musical or not? Because that was the other thing too. They didn't really go into that, but there was a big musical number.
Yeah. And Benjamin Bratt sings the main song of the movie. I know I tweeted it. I don't remember. Remember Me. Thank you. And they had the kid who's going the main boy in the movie. He came out to finish it in a big show-stopping number. So Coco, I don't think it's being marketed well at all, and I think it's going to be basically dead on arrival.
The Diz Twitter account, because it's gorgeous. And I will say the panel did have me more interested in it than I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm interested. I'm hoping to be pleasantly surprised. And it's something different. I have to respect this, that we got Moana, which is about like the Polynesian kind of area of life, that Asian side of the world. And now we're getting, something that's Mexico oriented. It's nice to start. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. You don't like the Day of the Dead, huh?
No, it was actually really beautifully animated. I enjoyed the idea and the plot of it.
Watched it.
Same thing.
That's the DreamWorks the way, It was that even DreamWorks? It was Sony, right? And a lot of fun stuff. It got us. You have the notes for this one, right? Because we weren't allowed to Twitter in this one.
Yeah. So. Like I said before, Alan hosts this one, and the first person he brought out, they started with Walt Disney Studios. In Time will come out on March 9th, 2018. It is based on the book the 1963 book A Wrinkle in Time, which I have added to my Amazon shopping cart, so I can get.
I'm going to read it as well before, because it did seem very interesting. So that, you know, as they often do in these things, the cast comes out. So my husband Chris Pine came out. Loves Disney.
Yeah.
Like, she was really into the convention.
Not only that, but it just fierce in general. Like, that's, if I was ever making a movie, that's someone who I'd want to direct me. Someone who literally commanded the room as well as her cast when they stood out on the stage. And it takes a lot to be able to command Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah.
And she did.
This is the director. She directed Selma and a number of other films. I'm forgetting the name of the newest one. Sugar Baby? I don't know, something.
Yeah.
But, you know, she's an acclaimed director at this point. And so it was just really cool. I don't know. It just was really cool to see her with, like, this energy that was like what you said. She commanded it and all. And then she brought out her cast, and some of the cast I didn't know was in this movie either.
Yeah.
Well, Chris Pine, honestly, I didn't know he was in the movie. So
Chris Pine is playing Dr. Murray. The movie's about Meg Murray, a young girl, and played by Storm Reed, and Dr. Murray, played by Chris Pine. Chris Pine is basically a groundbreaking scientist who's starting to break time and space barriers, and he's getting so caught up in his work that he actually gets lost in it, and so literally gets lost in it. So Meg has to help out to try to get her dad back, and she does so through the help of three characters: Mrs. Who,
Mrs. What,
Mrs. Witch, and Mrs. What's-It.
What's-It? That's it. Yeah.
And those are played by Mindy Kaling, Reese Witherspoon, and Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah, so we got to see some people out there. Mindy Kaling also spoiled that Benedict Cumberbatch was going to be coming out, because she was just jazzed about being in this room backstage with all these people too. So it was really cool. So they kind of each went through and they kind of talked about the role in the movie, and then we were treated to a trailer, which I have to say was really. It was something to see. Like, it was I don't know what I expected from this film. Maybe nothing, but it looked like something like, oh, I'm going to be into this. Like,
oh yeah, no, I was
visually,
completely blown away by the trailer. I had zero expectations for this going into it. And I am now left like extremely excited to see this when it comes out. Of course, we've talked about it already before, and I will always bring it up, is that we got to be in the audience and find out, like, well, here's a look at the poster, and then Oprah lets everyone know in the room that everyone gets a poster, and
she just starts doing you get a poster, and you get a poster, you get a poster, and you're like, oh my God, I've been in an Oprah audience before to get a poster.
Yeah. I wrote down, my exact word was, the preview was spectacular.
Oh,
so
there you go.
that is some high praise coming from Mr. Craig Williams.
Well, Ava DuVernay, she was saying that we wanted to make a film with a cast that looked like the real world with all different kinds of people. So I just that attitude too makes me really excited. Like, Chris Pine said he wasn't really familiar with this, and then he took the role just based on this director here, which is great.
No, everyone was excited to work with her, had nothing but high praise, and she got her first choice for every single person in the film. That says something, that they all respect her so much. Not even working with her before, they respect her that much that they were willing to go along on this project. So, and I'm just happy that Chris Pine continues his stay in the Disney family.
Tweet that Jackie sent out has a gif of Oprah doing the thing.
Come on, Jackie. Come on.
But yeah, it's exciting. And then they moved us into another film that kind of came out of left field. I didn't know it was being made. I didn't know anything about it. And it's an unexpected... So it's called Nutcracker in the Four Realms.
Yeah, and I got to be honest, the more this one has sat with me since, the less I care about it. So it's due to come out on November 2nd, 2018. It's a new reimagining of the Nutcracker, and they psyched it up going ahead of time, saying that, you know, everything they've done so far in terms of reimaginings have been all on their tales of animated movies they've done before. This one is the first time where they're just taking a story in general, putting their own twist on it.
The two books and then the symphony as well. So they're kind of like incorporating
the
all
ballet,
this stuff, I guess.
The ballet that is, and so it's going to star Clara, who, you know, Christmas night in London, and just it's one of those. It's just going to start off kind of like that. And
it reminds me of the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland almost, only with more practical effects employed than CGI. But it's got that same almost like like it's a story you're familiar with, but it seems like it's a little more fantastical than what the one you're used to, I guess. And so it's I don't know what to expect from it, to be honest with you.
My expectations are extremely low on that. The four realms are going to be like the land of flowers, the land of snow, the land of sweets, and then like a dark land. As we've said before on our recap show for that, the Mouse King in this story is going to be played by Lil Buck Charles Riley, and he's basically, it's not one mouse, it's about 1,000 mice that come together to do this weird pop and lock performance. But
this guy danced for us. It was interesting.
It was very interesting. But you know what? Morgan Freeman attached, Helen Mirren, Keira Knightley. I feel like they have at least good stars in it, so that holds a little promise. But I don't know. I'm just not sure.
We'll see. But the next one was probably one of the bigger highlights for me for the whole thing.
Yeah,
we got into Mary Poppins Returns. So Rob Marshall came out on stage with the one and only Emily Blunt, and they kind of discussed they spoke about Mary Poppins at length, and they kind of discussed about like the how. What I really liked is they acknowledged the fact that they had made Saving Mr. Banks and how P.L. Travers felt like very how she felt about the Banks family and stuff, and they essentially have said that this is a film that they went back to the books and really went to the source material. So I think they were trying to drive home without explicitly saying it that this is going to be, there is the familiar sense of it being another Mary Poppins movie because it is a sequel to that movie, but it is also very book driven.
Yeah, no, this is, in the books, Mary Poppins is more of a weird, eccentric character, and that's the way they decided to do it. No one's going, they said in quote, no one's ever going to out Julie Andrews.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's the point? Let's change it up and still continue the story of Mary Poppins, but do it in a way that's more to the books. And Emily Blunt will now be a standalone Mary Poppins, which I agree. I don't want to see Emily Blunt do a Julie Andrews impression. And so they decided that they weren't going to do that.
Well, she said that she had watched the first film for about 15 minutes and then shut it off because she said she didn't want to do that, but she wanted to do something that honored that performance, but also was her own as well and the book. So I think that Emily Blunt is a very talented actress that I'm confident. I'm excited to see what she will offer to the role.
I absolutely agree. So, surprise! I didn't know it before. Colin Firth is going to be kind of the main antagonist of this one. That was a
surprise, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's going to be playing Mr. Wilkins. He's part of the bank that is causing Michael to have the issues that he's going through. The story is that. It
was weird. It got really blurry for a second. I don't know what happened. Sorry,
it went out of focus.
Yeah.
The story is like years after the events of Mary Poppins. Jane and Michael are older, and Michael's a widower. And it still takes place right on Cherry Tree Lane.
Yeah.
So they went back and they recreated Cherry Tree Lane, but since it is in the 30s now, it's more Depression era London because of the entire economy crashing around the world.
And on top of that, they were saying one of the big differences here is that it's going to have that look and feel of the other Mary Poppins, but it was shot on location, whereas the other one was not. So this one is like real places, But yeah, sorry, go on.
No, that's kind of the big thing, and with that, and so Michael runs into issues with money and such, and that's so Mr. Wilkins, the banker, is going to be the antagonist in that, and that's why Mary Poppins needs to come back with.
She needs to bring joy back to Cherry Tree Lane.
Exactly.
They've forgotten how to laugh and have fun and stuff, and
they'll do so with the help of Mary Poppins as well as the help with
Topsy, her cousin, played by Meryl Streep.
Yep, absolutely. Also, Lin-Manuel Miranda playing the lamplighter. Jack, and we know, confirmed, even though it was before, I believe, that Dick Van Dyke will be returning for the role of Mr.
his role, which is great that he's playing the son of the bank manager that he was the dad of in the first. I just love that, but also Angela Lansbury will be playing a part in the film as well as a balloon,
the balloon lady,
and that was cool.
Yeah, and I think one of the most impressive parts is that, like, Emily Blunt went all over for this. Like, she really went out of her comfort zone. They were even saying how, like, she started dancing specifically for this movie.
Yeah.
That's how much of an involvement she did. And probably the most exciting two things that were said about this is Rob Marshall said that in the movie she's stunning. She was born to play the part. And then Dick Van Dyke on set said it felt the exact same. And it brought such a level of joy that it just felt so much like doing the original.
Yeah, and that, that's really high praise right there. So that's really cool. But then we were very wonderfully treated to not just like a preview of the movie, but the orchestra played music for us.
Who
was the person?
It was Mark Shaman and I have it right here in my notes. Mark Shaman,
the Hairspray
and
folks,
Scott Whitman.
Yeah.
So they had the orchestra there, and I believe it was Scott who was conducting the orchestra. They said that we knew they had clips of Mary Poppins because they played a clip of Lin-Manuel Miranda in the sizzle reel before, so we knew they had clips.
Arrived just in time, Mary Poppins.
Yeah, and so we knew we were going to get some looks at the movie, but they didn't. They start cutting to some of the scenes, and you see Cherry Tree Lane. Yeah. You see the kids.
The kite. Well, you see the kite next to the doorstop, and it like kind of flies out. And
that's when.
Oh God!
It's actually kind of making me emotional.
Yeah, I just got goosebumps.
That's when I literally happened. I just stopped and I was like, no, I have to pay complete attention to this.
And I'll tell you, there were shots in this. There were shots where you're like, okay, this definitely looks like its own thing. But there are also shots where you're like, there's the guys blowing the on the roof. The neighbors are blowing, and they're and it's all animated behind her. And then I look the street with all the lamplighters coming out, and they're all dancing but they're dancing with like things you love from the first Mary Poppins are going to be honored and in this movie somehow. He's done to do that, or however they did that, like. It was like it's Dick Van Dyke from the 60s dancing on that desk right now.
Read his books. He explains how he's still alive. I think the movie's going to be pure magic overall.
This really got me hyped. Really, really. Like, I hate that it's a whole nother year away.
Yeah. The thing about it is to get a place in Walt Disney World. It doesn't Disneyland, but I feel like it's losing appreciation every year as kids. Like, I just hope people from our generation, I hope our parents showed it to us so that way we can show our kids the movie too. Because I want this to be a massive success, and I'm just hoping there's going to be some emotional attachment.
Out of focus, like blurred behind them with the railing, and they're like, and Jane says to Michael, like, those things when we were, oh God. And I'm like, so, I mean, I don't know how my brain hadn't melted by this point.
Yeah. Well, from there, we went into a discussion of there's been rumors that, some of the reimaginings that are going to happen, what's true, what's not. Mulan, that will happen. That's the only detail we got of it. Jungle Cruise with Dwayne Johnson is absolutely confirmed.
And
they
said in like early days of that.
Yeah,
but it is a thing. Like they showed a title and everything.
Yeah, Aladdin will in fact be happening. It's going to be a mix of the animated classic, so it's going to be more of a blend. And we got the cast. The official is Aladdin, Will Smith.
The genie.
And then...
Unusual, but I'm like, whatever. I love Will Smith. I don't care. And then Naomi Scott, who I love because she's the movie, I believe, as well, Lemonade Mouth. And I'm pretty sure that's her. But she can sing. I know that for a fact. Like, so it was cool because I was like, oh, this... I knew when they were searching for this thing, they were looking for people from all sectors of the world. Yeah. It wasn't specifically like we're looking for Moroccan. Or because Agrabah is not a place, right?
No, that is not real.
Norway,
Yeah.
But it is, but it isn't. But whatever. I'm excited for who they cast. I'm excited for this movie. And then something that you love, one of your favorite Disney animated.
Of course, Dumbo. So we know it will come out now March 29th, 2019. There wasn't much to show from this, but we did get a clip of Tim Burton, who was kind of saying hi to the audience. They're in the middle of filming right now. He was hanging out on the Casey Jr.
Yeah, that was cool.
Train that they made for it. And you know, he's kind of saying, you know, we're so excited to bring this to life. And, you know, for me, the thing is, it kind of blended classic Tim Burton style along with kind of the newer styles that he's adopted in, like Alice in Wonderland, Miss Peregrine's, Home for Peculiar Children, because his style has evolved over the years. It's become more fantasy. It's in ways it's become more fantasy-like while also more dreary.
Yeah.
And
this looks like, this gave me the vibe of like Big Fish. That scene in Big Fish in the circus. It's what it looks like more or less. Like that's the vibe I was getting.
Yeah, and you know, we got to see the first rendering of Dumbo, who they showed us the life-size maquette of it, which I thought it did a great job of honoring the animated version of Dumbo while also blending it with more real. This really, for me, eased my worries
when
about
they brought it out. I was like, "That's Dumbo."
Yeah, that you would get with the Jungle Book, but also with the knowledge that photorealism, The Lion King.
My goodness. Oh, my God. I didn't even...
I thought you were going to say Papa Favreau.
Papa Favreau takes the stage and, you know, and he just tells us, and that was great. And he talks about how, like, you know, the feedback from that and how he understands what they're doing. You know, they're remaking this classic animated thing that means so much to so many, and he thanks everybody for the trust in them and everything. And then he's like, oh, we put together this thing, so we wanted to show you what we're looking at. And, oh, my God. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm getting goosebumps again.
So did I.
Yeah, like... It was the opening teaser of the movie with the Circle of Life, and if those animals weren't real, I'm not sure how much longer we're going to be able to tell when things are. You know, there's some moments where you're like, I mean, I don't know how quickly they put this together, but like it's got Rafiki breaks the thing, he puts the stuff on Simba's head, and
like everyone else around us was too, so it was okay. That is my favorite part of The Lion King, that opening sequence.
Oh, it's the song, the welling up, the colors, everything.
It is the perfect, if you had to, it's the elevator pitch of the movie. It's trust us with this. Let's show you how beautiful it is.
Yeah.
And you know, showing that part. He could have showed any clip from the movie. It wouldn't have had don't really go often where I avoid trailers. I avoid anything with it. I can honestly say after seeing this preview for it, I do not want to see anything else. Completely surprised and awed in it.
I don't know what to say. You know, there's not much else you can say about it. It is like one of those things where like I cannot do it. So from here, we moved out of this realm and into Star Wars. And we don't need to talk about Star Wars too much here because we didn't really learn anything too new. Benicio del Toro came out. We got John Boyega. We got Daisy Ridley. We got stuff. But it wasn't like a trailer. But it was some stuff that I'm like, oh, my God, this looks beautiful. I can't wait to see this, you know.
Yeah.
They told him, go ahead.
Obviously, sorry, we didn't say it to Mark Hamill. Duh.
And Mark, what I love too is Mark Hamill immediately came out and was like, we need to channel again that Mark Hamill was like, I like Rian Johnson. We get along great. We know it made it sound like I didn't like episodes 8 or anything like that, where he was saying that I like it. Like not, and I'm like, that's fine, because if you try to make something for everybody, nobody's gonna, you know.
The key word here is unexpected.
Yeah.
So there's going to be many unexpected elements on it. Mouthing pew pew along the way.
It's that was funny because she's just like, when she was a kid, she used to play Star Wars, I guess, and she couldn't stop making the noise during the thing.
I will say that behind the scenes video, what J.J. Abrams did in bringing these creatures to real life, and going the distance with it, it's going to be a gripping action movie throughout, so just be prepared for that. But speaking of action, Merville,
Cousin Merville stole the show. So they come out, they didn't talk about anything but Infinity War. They didn't talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp. They didn't talk about any of that. Isn't that her name? I'm sorry.
I don't remember.
Anyway, so so they didn't talk about any of this stuff. We did get a little bit of Comic-Con. Like, we're here. We all know it's coming. Avengers Infinity War. And one by one, they just start bringing out they start out with Thanos, obviously, Josh Brolin.
Then after by Paul Bettany. And then from there, the Scarlet Witch comes out, of course, Elizabeth Olsen, followed by the Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy. I forget her name. I apologize.
It's like it's that she's there.
Yeah,
because I'm like, I love her in Guardians of the Galaxy too. So.
Yeah, and the attraction. And then Karen Gillan, who plays Nebula in Guardians. Dave Bautista ain't S-word in terms
he said a bad word.
He said a bad word in front of D23. Everyone was freaking out about that. War Machine, played by Don Cheadle, came out. That is the second time I keep wanting to call him John Cheadle for some reason. Sebastian Stan, the Winter Soldier, Anthony Mackie as Falcon, Benedict Cumberbatch, Doctor Strange, Tom Holland, Spider-Man, Chadwick Boseman, Black Panther, Joe Russo, one half of the Russos, the other half, Anthony, he's still filming. Mark Ruffalo, the Incredible Hulk, Chris Hemsworth, Thor, and then
you're
finally,
just like,
of course,
I'm exploding inside, and then you're like, if Robert Downey Jr. comes out on stage, I may die.
Yep, and then there he came out, Iron Man himself, Robert Downey Jr., and they're all out there. I mean, yes, it was a glorified photo op to have that many out there,
and we were
at the same time
not allowed to use our cameras.
But it was still exciting. And then we got to see, before Comic-Con got it, we got to see the official first look at Avengers Infinity War. And just as we've described it before on that recap episode, starts off with the Guardians of the Galaxy flying through space. Body hits their windshield. Rocket just wants to,
wipe it off. Wipe it off. Yeah.
Windshield, wipe it off. They pull the body inside, and it's Thor. And that just opens up the wormhole of
who are you guys? Yeah.
Oh, what is happening in this movie?
And then it's got Gamora, and she's in the collector's warehouse, and that's all destroyed, and she's crying. And then they're like, we got to go to Terran, we got to go to Earth. And he's like, all right, put on your mean faces, everybody, because we don't know what to expect. And then, they get to Earth, and then, you see Thanos arrive on what I'm assuming is Earth, but it could not be Earth. We don't know, because it's very desolate, whatever this area is, and then so the Avengers kind of all come together. You see Black Panther in Wakanda. You see just everybody, and then you see some action, which was great because there's like a scene where Doctor Strange is throwing his the portals he does, and Star-Lord is jumping on them, like from thing to thing to go fight. And then there's a scene Thanos just punches Iron Man right in the head, and you're like, oh, he dead. And
all the characters,
bearded Chris Evans.
They're all using their powers together in order to try to take down Thanos.
Just like, I've waited so long for this.
But the problem is, and you start to find out in this, even with all of them together, it doesn't seem like they are able to. Yeah, they just can't, and you seriously start to fear for these characters that they're going to be crushed.
There's a scene where he's like, Thanos has his hand on Thor's head, and he's like crushing, and you're like, oh god, no. Essentially, this trailer was like, well, we're going to kill him and him and him and him, because then there's a scene where Spider-Man looks like he's going to be a quadriplegic because he's wearing, and Spider-Man's wearing the Iron Spider suit, or not the Iron Spider suit, but the one from the end of. Oops, spoiler alert, from Homecoming. And he's like laying on this thing, and Tony Stark's like holding him, and he's like, I'm so sorry, I couldn't help you, and it's just like so much. And then like Captain America's just there, and Black Widow's got the silver hair. There's just so many things happening, and you're just like, I know you're not all coming out of this movie.
No.
And so it was emotional because it was, Marvel's built this thing for so long, but it was also so exciting because you've waited so long, and you're just a little kid trying to see all your friends together, and it's just like and then there's this scene where he puts the gauntlet on, and he reaches up, and I don't know if it's our moon or a moon or what it is, and he just starts pulling, and it starts shattering, and like these meteors start flying down. That's why I don't think it's Earth. But I don't know.
Yeah, regardless, This was the perfect way to end in terms of the film presentations at D23. This was the perfect way to end it. Honestly, I would have loved for them to end on that Mary Poppins bit, but this was just way too epic.
No, yeah,
to do that,
because people would just been hyperventilating in their chairs after this.
And that's like last time they chose to end on Star Wars, even though we saw an amazing clip from Civil War. They chose to end on Star Wars because they needed to, and then they announced Star Wars Land, all that. But this was handled perfectly.
Yeah.
And then Comic-Con 1 week later, starts getting real good Marvel treats.
Oh yeah, well, so they got I mean, they got to see footage from Thor. They got to see footage from Black Panther that apparently sees the Michael B. Jordan character wearing a gold version of Black Panther's costume. I'm like, ooh. Thor, I guess now the director's saying like 80% of the movie is improvised dialogue, and I'm like, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of excited for that. They said especially Jeff Goldblum's part is very, like, they just let him be Jeff Goldblum, and
I trust Taika. As we've talked about before, I love What We Do in the Shadows. I think it is one of the most underrated comedies that has been released in years.
Oh yeah,
and
if
years
you haven't
and years.
seen this movie, you got it. Like I watched it on the airplane last year or 2 years ago, or whatever, and I just I was crying.
Yeah, the first time I watched it on the way to Czech Republic, and I was dying laughing on this flight over there. People must have thought I was absolutely insane. And then he directed Hunt for the Wilder People, which I wasn't as huge a fan of it, but it still got a lot of acclaim. He is a very talented director. They released the official trailer for
the second trailer. Yeah,
and the great part about that, the Incredible Hulk gets to talk. Not Bruce Banner, the Incredible Hulk.
They have a Hulk like raging fire, Thor like dying flame. Like, it was cool. And I've heard that so we learned some stuff where Mark Ruffalo has now said that like the Hulk has kept Bruce Banner repressed for 2 years. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. If you haven't checked out this trailer, you should really watch it. They're also saying now that Thor is going to be the shortest of all the Marvel movies at over just an hour and 40 minutes.
No, that's good.
But the director was saying, like, I want to leave people wanting more, but also it's an intense ride from beginning to end, so you're still going to get to the end of the movie and feel exhausted. And so I was like, okay, I can be into that. Also, if this movie is going right into what we saw in the Infinity War trailer, then it is going to be intense. So
all I know is I want the poster. Because the poster
oh my God, it's beautiful.
Amazing.
Yeah, they got this poster that just the colors on it and like all the characters. It's great. Have you seen the one where people photoshopped in Jeff Goldblum's head to every character's head on it?
No, I haven't.
They were like, oh, I went ahead and fixed the poster for everyone. And it's just Jeff Goldblum.
It's going to be spectacular. I cannot wait.
Yeah, and then they got a treat to some Black Panther footage, like I said.
Yeah.
And it sounded like it was really cool. Andy Serkis has said that his character will have a prosthetic arm. He's not going to remain armless that whole movie, because if you remember, that character lost his arm in the second Avengers movie. And they got to see the Black Panther use some nanotechnology to put his suit on. I wondered how his suit got put on. So that sounds cool. But then they also, I believe they saw what might have been the same trailer as us for Infinity War.
They did, yes.
They got treated to a poster. It's a 3-piece poster of the whole thing. And I'm a little bummed out we didn't get that poster.
Yeah, I don't like the poster.
But they also got to see a little bit from Ant-Man and the Wasp, or not footage, but Michelle Pfeiffer came out because she's playing Janet Van Dyne, the original Wasp, and the long-lost wife to Hank Pym. So I'm curious whether we'll get to see a little bit more of the backstory, or if she's going to show back up now, or what the deal is. But they get to learn a little bit more like that. Lawrence Fishburne will be in the movie as well. He is going to be playing Bill Foster, a.k.a. Goliath, one of Hank's friends.
Not Morpheus?
No, unfortunately. I keep hoping for Morpheus though. But it was also that Hannah John Kamen will be playing the villainous Ghost in Ant-Man and the Wasp. And the recently announced Walter Coggins will be playing Sonny Birch, thought to be the new corporate villain. I guess there was a poster that had like Giant Man and Hope in it, and they saw a short, like a little bit of footage that had the Wasp flying around on a ledge and Ant-Man riding on what may be his daughter's backpack. But
can we talk about America's favorite feminist?
Oh, I don't know who it is.
Brie Larson.
Oh, is she America's favorite? Okay.
Yeah, after
I thought you were talking about Samuel L. Jackson.
After her shutdown of Casey Affleck at the Oscars. So.
Oh, I don't remember that.
You don't. She had to hand him the award for Best Actor.
Yeah.
And she just completely snubbed him.
Oh.
Because of his
I know what he did that was wrong. Yeah.
Her winning the Oscar for being a person.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah. Oh,
good
yeah. No. How did you miss all that?
I must have just I don't know. Sometimes things go in, they come out the other side. But I know you love Brie Larson.
I shouldn't even say feminist. It's more of like a
humanitarian.
Humanitarian,
yeah,
thank you.
Because I was like, I don't think it involves just women. I think it's just being a decent person.
Yeah.
Brie Larson, though, big fan. If you haven't seen Room, check that movie out. Also, Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Or Short Term 12. I'll even say she was fantastic in Skull Island.
Yeah, I don't love that movie. But
because you have bad taste.
I don't like the humans in that movie. I like the Kong fights. And I like what it looks like, but I don't know. But yeah, Captain Marvel's coming out in 2019, but we learned some interesting stuff that it's set in the 90s.
Yeah.
That was a surprise.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry. I'm just so shocked by the 90s. And that it will feature Samuel L. Jackson as a Nick Fury with 2 functioning eyes. So we might learn how he got that eye patch after all. And it's going to also feature the Kree and Skrull, is that who they are? War, which was surprising because some of those characters belong to Fox, but apparently it's just specific characters in that race of aliens, not the whole alien group themselves. So, so the thought here is that this is going to be sort of a cosmic bound story a little bit, and that's kind of because the other idea is like, well, where is Captain Marvel? Because she's supposed to make an appearance in Infinity War. But we did not see her in the trailer at all.
No, and she also was not in that poster. But they did. Well, they also showed off concept art of her costume.
Yeah, of her suit. Yeah, I didn't get to see that really. I read the description, but what I thought is interesting though is the Skrulls, the characters. They're shape-shifting aliens, and apparently this could lead to something called the Secret Invasion, which happened in the Marvel comic books. So this essentially is. I'm sorry, I was trying to find the part where it said it, but I guess it wasn't in this article. Essentially, people are saying the idea is that some of the current Marvel characters we know aren't the real character. So this could play into the second Infinity War. That you know what I mean? That some people have been replaced by these shapeshifters, and I was like, oh, so we might see a character die in the third Avengers and then be really alive in the fourth one. So, but either way, it is
my stomach.
It is bringing a new. I know. I don't want to deal with the stress.
Yeah.
Also, then you're like, well, has it been a Skrull the whole time? Or are you saying have they been kidnapped from this movie to this movie? Like, either way, it does add this kind of interesting.
What if it's been Bucky Barnes this entire time?
Yeah, I don't love Bucky. But Bucky is in Infinity War with an arm, hopefully.
Well, Bucky, you.
Bully you. But that's kind of like all I got here. I can't think of anything else that I miss. There's fun stuff that doesn't pertain to this, but we'll talk about that in another show.
No, at the end of the day, for Disney fans as a whole, I know this one went really, really long.
Yeah, sorry.
So
but we had it's been a while. We had to get it out there.
No, it's been based on Marvel alone since we have to wait 2 more years for the next D23 Expo, but
good time. What a time to be alive. That's what I just keep seeing too, because of the Justice League trailer and the thing and this. Like, it's just one of those like everything in our childhood.
Okay, let's take that back on the Justice League part. So,
well, I think that's it. That's enough to be said. Thank you for having this discussion. So that is I can already tell you what we're talking about in next week's episode. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to Ireland in just by the time this airs, I'll be on the Nick in the 90s, the Nickelodeon of our childhood, because we did it for the Saturday afternoon. Hey Arnold and all that stuff, and there were some exciting Comic-Con announcements in regard to that, so it was like the Universal. But until then, that'll do it for this episode of DizPop.